Hey, what's going on? Ryan here with Intersection Records, and I want to talk about Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar is talking again. He's asked Alex Van Halen to just leave me alone, he says. Just leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone. You know, Sammy Hagar got the break of a lifetime in 1985 after David Lee Roth left Van Halen. He was asked to join the biggest rock band in the world. Sammy had a nice solo career. He was just coming off of the I Can't Drive 55 VOA album. Of course, he had, Standing Hampton and other big albums. He was the frontman for Montrose in 1973 on a couple albums. Pretty definitive albums with Ronnie Montrose. But really, getting the Van Halen gig was a dream gig for anybody. And why is it a dream gig? Because you have the most talented guitar player since Jimi Hendrix in your band. And I want to read some things. You know, Sammy put out a book 10 or 15 years ago that ripped the Van Halen brothers, certainly ripped Eddie, called him a drunk, staggering around, stumbling around. And I think he said all those things because Eddie wasn't talking to him after that 2004 reunion tour that I saw. And I started seeing Van Halen on the For Unlawful Cardinal Knowledge tour in 1991. I was, 11 years old when 1984 came out. I remember the breakup. Van Halen was my favorite band. And I never got to see Van Halen with David Lee Roth in the 80s. I did end up seeing them 3 times with David Lee Roth after they got back together. But, Alex Van Halen, I just read Alex Van Halen's book. He didn't bring up Sammy one time in the book. And of course, Sammy can't stand that because he's not getting any attention. And Dave's getting all the attention. And by not bringing him up at all, it suggests that the band really ended at the time that David Lee left. Here's what Sammy has to say again, talking trash, talking smack. And Sammy talks smack about David Lee Roth. He talks smack about Alex and Eddie. He said, I think Al's angry because I'm doing it. And Mike and I are doing it. And he can't, Hagar explained. He's not a singer. He's not a guitar player. He's not really a band leader. And he seems like he doesn't want to play drums and he can't play drums anymore. And he can't go and write a record. Alex wasn't the songwriter in the band. He was the drummer. Eddie and I wrote the songs. Dave and Eddie wrote the songs. And so we can go out and do them. And I think that really bothers him that Mike and I are still doing it. I would feel bad if I put myself in his shoes. I would feel terrible because I couldn't do it anymore. The Red Rocker goes on to describe himself as the happiest guy out of all of them. And it pisses people off because being too happy, people don't like that. Sammy's 77 years old and he's still bitching about Al, who's still grieving from losing his brother, his best friend, his soulmate. If you read the book, 3 minutes into the book, you realize it's a love letter to his brother, and he's still grieving over the brother that changed music, changed the world. I don't think that's too big of a statement. There's the Beatles, there's Hendrix, there's Eddie, there's Michael Jackson maybe or whatever. There's not that many people that changed the way that music was played, the way that music would go on to be done. What else does he say here? It's just ridiculous that he says that just leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. What is Alex doing to Sammy? He's not trolling him in the media. He's not doing anything. He doesn't want to go on tour with you. He doesn't want to do a Van Halen tribute tour with Joe Satriani and guitar. and Jason Bonham or Kenny Aronoff on drums because his brother's dead. And he's an older man as well. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't want to do it. He also says in other articles that he's mad because Cabo Wabo was successful and that it made Sammy rich. And that at one time, all the band members owned Cabo Wabo Cantina down in Cabo Wabo. And it was doing bad, and they all gave their shares back to Sammy, and then Sammy rebuilt it and made a bunch of money out of it. Well, I mean, who cares, Sammy? And, I want to say this about Sammy. I finally got to see Van Halen in 1991. Why did I want to see Van Halen? Because I wanted to see Eddie Van Halen. And I think we put up with songs like Why Can't This Be Love? When Love Walks In. Give It To Me Black and Blue. And Pound Cake. And Can't Stop Loving You. And Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do. Come on, baby, finish what you started. I did like that song. And I did like Pound Cake. And I did like Dreams. And I did like Summer Nights. But it wasn't nearly as good as Women and Children First. It wasn't Romeo's Delight. It wasn't You Really Got Me or Jamie's Crying or On Fire or Little Dreamer or anything off of Fair Warning and Unchained. Dance the Night Away. It wasn't as good. And I don't care who says it is. It wasn't bad. It was something that we tolerated, to be honest with you, because we got to see Eddie. We got to see the guitar solo. We got to see, it was a fun band. They were fun with Sammy. But it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't dangerous. It wasn't as good. And Sammy Hagar's never going to get over that. And every few months, Sammy bitching about one of the Van Halen brothers or not getting his due in the band or what's going on with Alex. Alex is an older man whose life was dedicated to playing with his brother. Alex never did side projects. For that matter, Eddie never did side projects. He did a small project with Brian May. He did the guitar solo on Beat It, which all took up all of one afternoon. But primarily, Eddie was there to play music with his brother with different singers. And, I'm just had it with Sammy. Al, you're fine. Just leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. Everything's good. I'm making you money, by the way, Al. I'm out there selling Van Halen records and keeping the name alive, keeping the music alive. No, you're not. You're keeping your ego alive by getting out there and constantly touring and constantly playing Van Halen songs that you wrote bad lyrics to, that Eddie wrote the music for. Don't tell me what love can do. Why can't this be love? When it's love. I mean, I love my baby's pound cake. I mean, is all the songs about sex and women and love? I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I finally wanted to get that off my chest. Check out my channel. We talk about great music every single day. Peace out. See ya.